Okay, everyone. We are broadcasting live to the entire world.
What?
We are.
No pressure. Yeah.
This is the Prosser Public Library in Bloomfield, Connecticut, and we're here with Amy Hugh and Mark deVera from VIZ. And we're gonna make you the main screen. There we go. We are so excited for you guys to be here. I really appreciate it. They actually came in a snowstorm, all the kids behind me. And we said a big thank you to Mark for those bags. I truly appreciate it. And we're gonna get started. Mark, you said you wanted to introduce Amy, correct?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. All right.
Perfect. Let's go.
Yeah. Hi everybody. If you were on the first part of the call, I'm Mark, Publishing Sales Associate at VIZ Media, and I'd like to introduce you all to Amy Hugh, who's a manga editor here at VIZ Media.
Hi guys.
So, yeah.
Nice to meet you. Hi. Thanks for coming in during the. I'll move. Thank you for the introduction,
Yeah, for sure.
Mark. I'll move in the middle now. Thanks for coming in during the snowstorm. That was really, really dedicated of you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying your manga day.
I am.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, I'm an editor here at VIZ. I've been at VIZ for 8 years and counting, and I love my job, and it's really great to work with manga all day. Yeah, I feel really blessed to be doing this for so long. Is Christina going to ask me questions, or how do we want to do this?
Oh yeah.
Have students sit down in front of.
Oh, sorry, the kids are going to ask me questions.
I believe so. Yeah. I think they're gonna get over there and ask the questions.
Okay, so I think you guys have some questions for me about the job or about anything in particular that you are interested in, actually.
Oh yeah.
Am I on the right screen? Or?
Oh no, I guess people are watching.
Oh,
There we
okay,
go.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
All right.
got
So
it.
yeah, without
Cool.
further ado, let's have some Q&A.
Hi.
Okay, so my question is, how did you get into manga and anime?
Okay, so I was always into reading comics, like back in 7th grade, 8th grade, but back then it was more like X-Men and American comics. So when I went to high school, I had a classmate who gave me manga for the first time, and it was Ranma 1/2. How many of you guys know that series? Have you heard of it? Yay! Awesome. Do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. So that was sort of like my introduction to manga, and I loved it so much. It was like during my finals, and I was having a hard time with my studies, but then I would just read Ranma 1/2, and I would just laugh and feel better. So I think that just started my whole manga and anime love. And later on, I joined the Japanese anime club at our high school. So we had one of those, and I got introduced to a lot of different types of anime, depending on whatever they selected to show. But yeah, that's kind of how I personally got into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. Oh, the system.
Hi.
Hi.
So I heard that you spent some time as an English teacher in the JET program, and I was wondering what was that experience like and how it was living in Japan?
Yeah. So do you guys all know what the JET program is? Have you guys heard of it? So I heard about the JET program from a friend of a friend, but basically it's a great way right out of college. You do need to go to college and get your degree, so it's not like you can just go now. But basically, it's like you're like an assistant teacher teaching English to junior high or high school kids. Sometimes you even visit elementary school kids. But basically, they want English speakers, like they want to hear like what English sounds like from like an American speaker, and so you're going to be working with the teachers wherever you're assigned to like work on like basically class, like how to run a class and how to like maybe have a conversation, and you get to really interact with the kids, and that's how they learn how to speak English more in a way, because some of you probably take foreign languages at your school right now. It's kind of hard to practice speaking a foreign language, you know, like you kind of learn to memorize, read, but you don't really get to practice speaking. So I think the JET program is great. Like that's the intention behind it, so that everyone feels more comfortable learning how to communicate in English. So that's sort of the JET program. There's like a whole bunch of ways to get in. But so I applied in college, and then I got assigned to a city called Kawasaki, which is 20 minutes away from Tokyo. And it was such a great experience. I stayed there for 1 year. It's like a 1-year contract, and you can renew up to 3 years, I believe. And it's kind of one of those things where you learn so much just interacting with people, but also like the students. You get to practice a little bit of your Japanese, and they'll practice English with you. And it was a really, really good experience, traveling around Japan as well. So I highly encourage, if any of you guys are interested in living abroad, or if you're interested in teaching, it's a great way to figure out kind of a career move, for example.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hello?
Hi. You're in another room?
No, this is just on the floor.
Oh, okay. Hi.
So, I have a question. I have two. How did you become an editor at VIZ Media? And what experience did you have to prepare you for your duties as an English manga editor?
Okay. So the first question was, how did I become a VIZ manga editor? Well, I think actually I'm gonna do this in reverse and just sort of talk about my background. So I wanted to work at VIZ because I love manga, and I was an English major back in college, so I've always loved to read literature and write. So I read a lot, and basically when I came back from the JET program, I kind of wanted to become an editor for VIZ. So in a way, I was like, well, how do I make this happen? And I guess you start out simply, you do have to have a strong background in writing and editing, and you need actually to get your foot in through the door. So what that means is I got an editorial internship at an independent business and current events publisher that's located in San Francisco. So I started with an internship just to see what it means to kind of be like an editor. And then I eventually became an editorial assistant at a science textbook company. But with each editorial experience, I basically kept building my skill set with editing. I took a copy editing course. So when basically the job at VIZ Media opened up, I applied, and between having a strong background in editing and also having my experience on the JET program, like since I live abroad and kind of worked with people in a Japanese office setting and sort of knowing culturally how certain things work, and it made me a good candidate for the position. So when I applied, I got it. So I was really, really pleased how that worked out. Yeah.
Wait, I have one more question.
Sure.
For the Naruto series, right?
Naruto?
Yeah, for the series.
Yeah.
What do you think of Sakura in the first series, in the first anime?
I have to be honest, and I haven't actually watched a lot of Naruto, so I may not be the best person to answer this question. Mark.
Oh, I know. I answered it for you.
Okay. So you're a huge Naruto fan then, yeah?
No, not a huge one, but I just want to know.
Oh, so
Yeah.
What do I think of her? I always like having a strong female character in any shonen series, just because I want girls to be powerful and strong. So I guess that's sort of my general impression of her. And I like pink hair is nice. So yeah. What do you think of her? Do you like her?
Well, I don't like her very much because pretty much for the entire first series, she literally stood there with an kunai.
Oh.
She literally just stood there.
Well, that's what happened in the manga. Did that happen in the manga as well, or just in manga?
I think so.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's in animation they have to figure out screen time stuff. So they may not develop certain parts of the story as much. So, it could be a case where maybe the manga should have more to do.
Yeah.
So maybe you might want to check out the manga more. You're kind of upset about that. Sorry.
All right, but thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Alright. Josh, you got a question, right?
Nah, it's not worth it.
It's not worth going up there for a 5-second question.
Ask it.
I just can't help that from Rosario Empire.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this place. Sorry.
How's it going?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing today?
Good. How are you? Is that the mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. My question is, what exactly does it mean to be a manga editor at VIZ Media, and what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Okay. So for being a manga editor at VIZ Media, basically on any given day, I have like a lot of different tasks. My company VIZ Media, we license the original Japanese comic books. So I'm going to show you. This is actually we call it a tankoban. So this is like what the original Japanese manga is in Japan. Like this is what they sell. So when my company licenses this series, basically I hire a translator who has to translate the Japanese, if you can see that, and gives me a script that I edit in English, and then I send it to a letterer who basically takes the digital file and kind of erases all the Japanese and puts the English in there. And then I get a set of proofs from the letterer. It'll look something like this. This is just like a big stack, but I don't know if you can see it. But basically, at that point, I proof these lettering proofs and like make all my comments in red, and I ask the letterer to make corrections, and I proof it again, and basically make sure everything looks good for the U.S. audience in English. And I work with like a designer on the covers, and sometimes we send the covers to Japan for their approval. So there's like a lot of pieces that come together to put the book together. So I could be working on like a script for one series, I could be proofing for another series. So it's like constantly juggling all these different types of tasks on day to day. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
What have been some of your best experiences working in the manga industry?
In the manga industry. I think I just basically really enjoy the process of editing. Like I really, really just kind of get in the zone, when I'm working. But I would say I also really enjoy. This doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes I meet fans at a convention, or we have like I work one of our imprints, Shoujo Beat. Do you guys know Shoujo Beat? Have you heard of it? Like it's basically a lot of high school romance and whatnot, but basically we have a Facebook page, and so sometimes I write posts for Facebook for our fans, and it's just really nice to have interaction and getting like meters about how much they love our series. I think that's like one of the best parts, of working at VIZ. Also, everyone is so nice, positive. Everyone just loves like their job, and it's just a really good environment. So I think everything about it is just great.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
So I wanted to ask, what is the difference between your duties as a manga editor and the duties of a manga editor in Japan?
Okay. So earlier I was explaining what my day-to-day is like. So because we're basically licensing the Japanese manga into, and making it a product for the U.S. market, we're basically making sure that the, translation is accurate and like reads well for the U.S. audience, but we don't actually change like the art, for example. So an editor in Japan has a lot more of a developmental role. And what that means is like they'll work with the author directly. Like they will go through like a script and a storyboard, and then the editor over there in Japan will actually give critiques on, you know, maybe the paneling or the art or like a character or a storyline. So there's a lot more involvement where that's concerned, like on the Japan side. So by the time like the product comes out, so like, you know, this would be, you know, the finished product in Japan. My job is really different as an editor here, because then I basically making it so that it's like the English version, you know. So I'd say that's the main difference.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
So one of the last questions we have is, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to pursue comics or work in the comics industry?
So I'm sure some of you probably really enjoy reading the manga. That's probably why you're here today. There are probably different components, like either you love to, you know, read and write, or maybe you love to draw, or, you know, for me it was editing, which was kind of came off of the writing. So it was sort of a process to try to figure out what exactly, like, and how to pursue something. A lot of times I'd say, just keep doing what you love. You know, if you love to draw, just keep drawing, because you're going to get better. And then if you love writing, just keep writing. Like, you're going to get better. Sometimes opportunities come up where you can keep pushing yourself creatively. Like, I encourage you to, like, you know, join communities. Like, there's a lot of, like, online communities with artists. And there's also, you know, writing workshops or classes you can take. Like, anything to kind of keep going in that direction and pushing yourself. I think things just kind of open up when you keep going at it. You just kind of believe it's something that you love. So I feel like when it's that strong and genuine, even if it doesn't materialize into like a full-time job, it's still, I think, something that's worth pursuing, like for your soul. So I would just say keep drawing, keep writing, keep reading, keep doing what you love, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi Christina.
Hi, how are you? I made the initial contact with Mark at Comic-Con, and it was just amazing that he kept in contact with me. And he said that you and him actually work with teens. Can you let the teens here know what you do in connection with other teens?
In connection. Sorry, I couldn't really hear the last.
In connection with other teens, Mark said that you guys work with teens.
Yeah. Teens.
Oh, teens.
Oh, so yeah. So you and Jet, I guess, is a martial arts teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I teach martial arts. You know, not only did Ranma 1/2 make me learn to love manga and anime, but it also inspired me to do martial arts. And 12 years later, I'm still doing it. So I go back and I teach martial arts to teens, kids, even people older than me. So that's my involvement with teens. And Amy, your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, the JET program was a huge like eye opener. It was like the most experience I'd had with like working with a lot of teenagers on a long period of time. So yeah, like just basically, I had 5 junior high schools that I was kind of rotating between. So I mean, the kids at each school in Japan were so different. Like you kind of had this impression that maybe they're like, you know, sit up and pay attention in class and fold their hands or something. That's not the case at all. And also, yeah, and you know, it kind of actually depended on. So in the city of Kawasaki is kind of more of an industrial city, and if you go more north, there tends to be more like white collar like workers, and then if you go more south, it tend to be more blue collar, and you could kind of see how teenagers would kind of I don't know, like or even junior high, like they kind of, the culture was a little bit different at each school, and sometimes it depended on, I guess, financial circumstances or even what things were going on at home. So, but the kids were always like great. They were always like warm-hearted and whatnot. But I have to say, like when I was that young, working with teens, it was like kind of different. Like I just didn't. it was like, because you've been a teenager yourself, and you remember kind of being a certain way, but then like when you're a little bit older and interacting with teenagers, it's a little different. So because I was a lot younger than some of their other teachers, like they kind of warmed up to me and wanted to talk, and so you kind of felt like you were being friends, but then at the same time you were still in a teacher position, so you kind of like discipline was kind of strange for me. I don't know about you. Like,
No, I totally went in that position for sure. But now we have a lot of board members here, the Teen Book Board members. I don't know if you guys want to sneak your faces into the camera over there. They actually came up with the idea of Anime Day, and our running with the book board is a little bit more Keith. You almost got in there, Keith. You weren't quite there. Oh, your head was. That's right. His head got in there. One of our running themes is diversity in the media and diversity in literature. And I had recently read how in Japan there's still some roles that women are not allowed to have, or places women are not allowed to go. So in some spiritual trails, they only are allowed to go so far in Japan, because I guess they're considered a distraction to the other male worshipers. That they can't be sushi chefs and other things like that. Have you seen that affecting the mangas, like the industry that you're in, how women aren't quite in Japanese culture still welcome in all of the different spheres, in some of the public spheres and career spheres? Does that affect the stories that come in and the artists that are available to you, or?
That's a really interesting question. I feel like I'm not necessarily a good representative to answer that question correctly, I guess. But I would say that the things that I have observed, so like to the point of what you were saying about the sushi chef, I had heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, that the reason why women are not considered prime sushi chef candidates is that their palms are actually warmer.
Yeah,
is that right?
I've heard
the way
too.
that you make sushi with rice is like it'll stick to your palm more if your hands are warm.
Yeah, I don't know the validity of it, but I've heard that too. I've heard that too. Yeah.
So there might be these concepts, and maybe I don't know. There could be like a woman, like a female sushi chef who's like, I'm gonna make this my dream. But I will say like with anywhere, it's sort of like the great thing about I guess living in the States and in San Francisco in particular, like we have a lot of we welcome diversity, and I think that if a culture doesn't necessarily make that a priority, then a lot of opportunities don't necessarily come up, or it's a huge struggle, and so. Times have changed, and there's so many different things that are open to women that weren't possible maybe even years ago here or in Japan. So I would say
the industry is starting to change. You're thinking?
Yeah, I think so, and even not just in manga or anime in Japan. I'm sure there's a lot of other different industries over there that before you wouldn't have thought that a woman would run this company, but now she does. And so I think there's a lot of strong women out there who are fighting the group fight and being represented. And this is a kind of a offshoot. And so going back to diversity is, I don't know if you heard, this is years ago, but enka is actually a type of traditional Japanese singing, sort of like opera. And there was actually there's this singer called Jiro. He's actually
the half black, half Japanese.
He's half black, half Japanese. His grandma really loved enka, and so not only was he black, he was also just really young. Enka tends to be for an older audience, so I remember hearing that story, and he was at the top charts.
Totally.
He was doing really well, and so I was kind of I just love that story in and of itself, because it's someone who really just loved doing what they loved, and then kind of found fame that way. But I don't necessarily think that he was I'm gonna. I don't know. Maybe he did in his heart, but I just think it's amazing where if people you don't limit yourself by thinking, oh, I'm never gonna be able to do this, and they just believed and kept doing what they're doing. So I think with manga, there's definitely a lot of different types of stories and coming out that you wouldn't have thought my love story. Actually, this one I keep showing. It's a shoujo series, which is the target audience is for females, but then Actually, a lot of guys read it. They love it, and I don't see why it doesn't have to be for like it doesn't like shoujo or shonen. It's not like shonen has to be for guys. Like no, a lot of girls love it, and
Actually,
shoujo.
yeah. I think nowadays it's really acknowledged even in Japan that half of the shonen fan base is female.
Female, yeah. And then there's a whole bunch of series that knowing that can shape the storylines as the series goes on, right? So and a lot of shoujo, not every single shoujo, but there's some types of storylines that really appeal to guys just because it's like it's a good story. It doesn't have to be strictly like one way or another.
You said that particular title was being targeted towards Latinos. Was there something that happened at VIZ? Was there some sort of meeting where, because we had spoken with a columnist and film critic who said that there was a study done and that more diverse television shows actually had higher ratings. So did VIZ get together and say, oh, let's start targeting specific groups because it might help with, was there any sort of strategizing? I mean,
I think it's. Are you referring to the series I was talking about before, Pikachu, the Felipe Smith series?
Yeah. I think someone said that one of the titles you said was targeted towards a Latino audience.
Oh no, I think what I said was it was made by an Argentinian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is there are any of the titles or anything towards a specific audience rather than it just being age and gender?
I think when we usually choose series, we usually think more more of age. I think a more general audience usually. Yeah, I don't think we usually have like a specific target in mind, and that's not because we're trying to. It's not because we're ignoring groups, but I think it's because there's something about manga that's very universal. I think that's why when it was getting big, you didn't see just the usual, typical comic shop man, going to gravitate towards it. You had young boys and girls of any ethnicity gravitating towards it because I think there was something really universal that's loved about manga. So
I'm kind of curious how how do the kids, like maybe the kids who came in today, like how do they pick the series that they read? Like how is it word of mouth? Like a friend tells them? Like and there's like even at the library when you guys are like looking at the shelves, like is it art? Because I feel like when I was a teenager, like at the comic book store, I mostly went by art first, like like a cover, and then I'll read the story and then oh, this story's really great or not, and then sometimes like a friend would introduce and say like something's like really, really, really good and you should check it out. So I'm kind of curious how you guys,
Okay. Well, I choose mine by whatever the library has and whenever I can find, and also by art. And normally, if they have a girl on the cover, I'm like automatically attracted to it.
Interesting. Okay. So for you, is it? Do you prefer like high school, like regular life kind of story, or do you like something more supernatural, like vampires, or
It doesn't really matter so much. But I tend to like lean toward the ones that are from like the 20th century or like 19th century for some reason, like Emma.
Oh, that's a great
nice.
series.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So for you, it's the art, like really the covers that are what draws you in to pick it up, even, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds good.
I actually kind of want to, before we move on, I kind of want to go back to the diversity question you asked earlier, Christina, about Japan and what. If it hinders some things, I've never spent time in Japan, so I can't completely speak to how the treatment of women. But as far as like what women have been able to do in the manga world, of course women have been shoujo mangaka for years, but they've also been shonen mangaka for years. Rumiko Takahashi, the creator of Ranma One Half, is a woman. The creator of Full Metal Alchemist is a woman. The creator of Blue Exorcist is a woman. So a lot of the publishers in Japan have been very open to female talent in creating a variety of works. So, well before, a lot of that was open in the West. Nowadays, you can find several, really well-known female comic artists. But even 5 years ago, I feel like it was a little tougher to find. But in Japan, it's been that way for years.
Yeah, I
So-
think they probably start out with like a certain apprenticeship. So, you train as an assistant. So, kind of like what I was saying earlier about getting an internship. Like, it's a great way to find out whether or not something's a good fit for you, but then you learn so much with who you're working with, and then you develop all these skills. So after a while, I think the strength of your skill set just shows. So talent and, hard work just proves itself, whether you're male or female, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you for adding that. Josh also wanted to comment on how he chooses.
Yeah.
All right.
Please,
please.
let us know.
So I read most of my manga online, so I'm not like 300 chapters behind everyone else. So I usually, because like most of the websites have like the popular manga thing on the front, and I usually just choose from there what I've heard. So that's how I got into Tokyo Ghoul. That's how I got into Fairy Tail. It's how I got into Tagami Baki and all that kind of stuff. And for anime, it's usually word of mouth. Like Black Lagoon, my favorite anime ever made. My friend told me about it by showing me Black Lagoon, the effing short version on YouTube. So that's kind of how I got into both of them.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. So.
Hey.
Hey, I'd say for manga, it probably would be like more of the animes that I've seen. That would go there if I can see a manga, because a lot of anime series end way too short. And for anime, I'd say more like it was one of the people over there that originally got me into it, and then from things that I liked, I just went with it.
Okay.
Oh, your friend.
Yeah, William.
One of his friends. Sorry, he's pointing at his friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for telling us. Yeah, so it does sound like, a lot of times it's a friend, word of mouth, or
Anime.
recommendations. Yeah, and also if you're just even browsing at the library, art.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So when we choose what we decide to publish over here, we do consider art.
Oh, for
That
sure.
for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. It's almost number one. in some
Yeah,
ways, yeah.
like sometimes a series could be really amazing, but then the covers are, a little problematic. Maybe they're not as appealing, but for U.S. audience or something. So we definitely focus that before we decide to publish.
Definitely. Yeah.
We have someone coming.
Oh.
Hi again.
Hey.
I was wondering about how you choose cover art for new manga coming in.
Okay. So mostly because we're basically taking the Japanese product that's already existing and making it for the U.S. audience, we tend to keep the cover. So you can see like side by side right here. It's pretty similar, but we kind of made this one a little bit different by, like the sizing of the gentleman. We placed him in the back, and we kind of put his friend a little bit forward. But in general, the covers tend to be exactly the same as how the Japanese ones are. But sometimes we change things up a little bit for design reasons, or maybe sometimes something may not be suitable for the U.S. audience.
I have a really good example. I'm gonna grab
okay. Mark's going to grab an example of like when we had to change it. But so I would say this is interesting. In Japan, I don't think they're as shy about, let's say, nudity. Like,
Japan is not shy at all.
They are not.
I have a
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with
the girl is almost naked or something. And for the U.S. audience, like, we're a little more shy about that. And let's say your parents found this manga that actually isn't about nudity. They just see the cover, right? They see the cover and they're like really, really upset. Like, why is my child reading this pornographic thing? But into consideration, and we might have to change the cover in that instance and use like another.
She's going to show us.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then Mark's going to show you.
Oh, it's JoJo.
Okay, we're ready.
So, yeah, Amy
No nudity, right? No nudity, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
So this is the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Jujonium edition that came out in Japan. Yeah, and then we wanted to publish it here, but in Japan, printing often is a bit cheaper, or they could get away with more things because they print at a higher, and it gets cheaper per unit. So this is in Japan. They had a slip case, a different cover here. They had stained pages, so we couldn't really do that. So what we did instead is we made it hardcover and kind of combined what you saw in the slipcase along with what you saw in the book. So put these two together, have our designer play with it a little bit, and it turned into this.
Okay,
So that's an example of us being able to be a bit creative with the covers sometimes. But,
Pretty.
yeah. So I think for the more premium books, that's usually when we're able to get away with letting our designers be a bit more creative. But, yeah. The ones where they can be very creative, those the logos.
Yeah, so we can definitely change up the logo. But yeah, sometimes you just find another piece of art and you just replace it. But you have to, if you ever change anything drastically, we always have to get Japan's approval. So we send it over, explain why we had to change it, and then say, hey, here's what we came up with, and then they usually give us feedback like, change this, or, oh, we love it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Good question. Thank you.
I had a question about, so I haven't read the series, but I saw a couple of things with Chobits.
Oh, that one's
I'll let Mark answer this question. There's the on switch.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I can't.
The on switch has caused some issues for me as a librarian purchasing things.
Yeah. That was actually not one of our titles, but I am familiar with it, so I can speak to it if you had a question. Are you just wondering like what section to put it in, or do you find it problematic to stock?
It's I think for me culturally, with like you said, Japan's more accepting of different things. I guess I'm wondering if I haven't really run into something like that since, or as often as I did before.
Yeah.
Now that mangas are becoming more mainstream, when storylines are presented, are things like the Chobits on switch, where the rest of the content is appropriate, and then that and one maybe like Western culture, maybe I guess the best way to put it, maybe American culture or English culture or whatever, that's kind of a questionable switch. When things are being made now, is it in mind that it's a more international audience and that perhaps they might steer themselves away from just small places, just small details that wouldn't change the overall storyline? Have you noticed with your time at VIZ, have you noticed things start to turn away from little things like that?
Well, I guess addressing the Chobits thing first. Chobits is actually it's a really interesting series to bring up because that you look at the art style and it looks like it's made for a younger female audience, but in actuality, that series in Japan was made for an older male audience.
Oh yeah,
that's why they did have a lot of content like that. And if you get later on in the series, there's other things that I would consider a bit more mature. So. So that
the M series?
I don't think it was M. I think it was
Diamond Bookshelf. You guys heard of Diamond Bookshelf?
I know of it. Yeah.
They recommend it as a young teen book.
Oh, yeah. They might. Sometimes they do that just based off of cover art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, where?
Yeah, but then you read the content and it's different.
We don't have Chobits here, but.
No, we definitely take even like libraries in consideration when we like rate a series. So all of our books, like at the back, they all come with like a little rating. We have our own in-house, like so it's T or T plus, and that kind of basically tells like the age range that we feel is appropriate. So we definitely discuss, at least at VIZ. I don't really know about other companies like how they handle ratings and whatnot, but anything that's a little more mature, we definitely and we actually have in-house. Not standards, but just sort of like there's certain things that we refuse to publish. There's certain things like that we just veer away from. Because manga is just it's just a medium in Japan. Like here it's a little more like a genre, but like in Japan it's just a type. I mean, it's art. It's a way to tell a story. So there's so many different types that someone who looks at manga might think like, oh yeah, it's all for kids, but it's certainly not. Like there's like even a series that I work on right now, it's called Master Keaton, and it's definitely like more for like an older audience, and it's espionage and whatnot. I don't really see a teenager picking it up and being like, this is the best ever. Or maybe they will, but basically like we definitely there are some cultural. Sometimes when we're acquiring a series, like we look. as far as however many books are already published, and we kind of get a feel of what direction the story is going in. It's kind of rare that something they'll throw in the scene that's like, that is so inappropriate, you know?
Yeah.
Like, generally you can kind of tell, like, who the audience is for, what direction they're going in before you acquire it. Because, you know, it's a little tricky with, like, an ongoing series versus a series that's already finished. So you see everything, you know what's up, you know, like, what's problematic, and, like, you think about, you know, do we have to address it, or do we not even acquire it because it's such a big problem? So, you know, at least in Viz, we definitely think about stuff like that before we acquire something for the U.S. market.
Okay.
And to your question about the creation of the manga in Japan with an international audience in mind, I'd say for the most part they probably still make it mostly with a Japanese audience in mind, because as big as manga is worldwide, I'd say like 90% of manga readers are still in Japan. So so they are definitely the number one, you know.
But they do listen to feedback. Like, we've definitely given them feedback about, oh, we didn't acquire this series because it was just too much of, you know, whatever it is. And then also, I think in Japan they have that Tokyo Ordinance where they're trying to clean things up.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they have
say.
cleaned things up
And
a lot.
so
Yeah.
it was actually prompted in Japan, not so much like, oh, our international audience needs things to be more tame for the teenagers. They actually were, you know, and that's actually really affected the type of stories that are coming out from Japan.
Can you go back and tell us again? So they're implementing ratings in Japan? Is that what you're saying?
It's more of there's certain content that was just so risque. Yeah.
Like, this is actually like a political movement. So
can you explain that to us? Because I haven't heard anything. I would love for to
yeah, like I think it was maybe like 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago.
It was. I don't know. I don't remember the full name. It was like the Tokyo Ordinance something. If you Google it, and you know, I guess maybe you can just Google like Tokyo censorship of like manga or was it anime?
I think there was some for anime, but it
was mostly for manga. But basically, this came about, and I'm sure it affected, you know, the industry as a whole when they talked to their authors about, you know, storylines, or like, hey, like, we shouldn't be doing that because it might raise a red flag. Like, what if this committee sees this, and you know, they're trying to push things in a different direction. So I would say I don't think it affected every artist.
Oh,
you know,
no,
there's
not.
definitely, especially like you know, artists who are like long-standing. They just want to do what they want to. They want to be artists. They want to do what they want to do. But yeah, I think that kind of affected some of the stories.
Some of it, but yeah, it's not like manga's all of a sudden going to be prudish. Yeah. Like when you look at the list of titles that were affected, you're like, oh, okay, actually, kind of glad that's.
I mean, there probably was like a reason why the committee formed, and you know, why they had this ordinance come to play. Just because, and you know, like with any. There have been times in history, even in the U.S., where it's just, I mean, there's like books banned, and like you're like, why was it banned?
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's just the political climate, you know,
so
whatever's going on.
This was more exploitation.
Exploitation.
That's what it sounds to me, right?
Oh yeah, it was very exploitative. Yeah, to say the list. If you look at the listed titles, there's an Anime News Network article somewhere out there about it. So yeah, if you research it, I'm sure you'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just as an example, I don't think it's like a huge effect, but it's just as an example, like they may have affected some of the stories, some things, but yeah.
Thank you. This is really informative, and I think we all here had a great time. So everyone, can you please just go into the cameras or this camera, wherever we can all say, yeah, come onto this one, because I think they can hear you better from here, and then we can all say our goodbyes and everything. Hey, Jazz, how are you?
I'm blocking you out.
No, you just made
Hi! Oh, there's so many of you.
I'll squeeze down a little. Can you say more? Thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. And thank you, Mark, for the bags. We love it. And tell me what we need for the other the samplers, you said?
Oh, I'll just send that to you, Christina. I'll send you like 30 or something.
You hear that, sampler? Okay, thank you guys so much. We're about to watch Princess Mononoke, and we truly, Mark, I can't thank you enough for staying in contact with me since October.
Yeah, no problem.
That's amazing. You made all of these guys happy. We truly appreciate it. You made Anime Day wonderful.
Yay!
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Have fun in the California weather.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.